Right now, everything is very stressful for me. Uni is stressful, work is stressful, personal life has been very stressful the last couple of weeks or so, and I find sometimes when you're stressed, the best thing to do is just rant. So that's what I'm doing today. I'm just gonna sit here and vent about some of the plants that I am just struggling to keep alive right now. First plant that causes me so much stress is this fern. I think it's called a button fern. To be fair, I don't actually know exactly what type of fern it is. That's my bad. Maybe the reason why it's not surviving is because I don't even know what you are. But it requires so much water. Like, I water this pretty much every day, every second day. And if I don't water it, its leaves start to go all wilty and it shrivels up. Look at it. It's not even like fully symmetrical or anything like that. It's growing all weirdly. I don't know why, because I keep like changing it, so like rotating it so different sides face the light, but for some reason it just wants to grow all lopsided. If I water it too often, the leaves start to go all yellow and drop off. So I'm like, how much water do you want? I cannot get the watering right. I think where I had it originally, it wasn't getting enough light, and now it is getting enough light. I don't know. It's so hard to tell. Like, I mentioned this in my first video that this fern looks simultaneously overwatered and underwatered, and that's, yeah. In that same family of plants, I have this. I think is a Victoria bird's nest fern. Again, I don't know what type of fern it is, and maybe that's the reason why it's not surviving. I have a habit of buying plants from the grocery shop where they don't label them at all. They're just labeled indoor foliage. So, I don't know. Maybe that's the reason why it's not surviving. It's not doing terribly, I will add. It's just one of those ones where I've really struggled to get the lighting right, because if you don't give it enough light, the leaves come in flat and smooth, where else you want it to be. I want it to be nice and, you know, crinkly and stuff like that. See, it doesn't really like grow nice and symmetrically. Fronds just come in, you know, and face which way they want to. I don't know, maybe Instagram is setting just really high beauty expectations for plants that my plants just cannot match, and maybe I need to lower those expectations and love them for who they are and the way that they look. It's also, I don't know, maybe it has some sort of bacterial infection possibly, because it got all these like brown spots on the leaves and the ends went all crispy. I had to chop off a lot of the ends. This is a good example of an end that I had to chop off. This one as well. I don't know. It just kind of sits there and it survives and it's doing okay. It's just not thriving, and I don't know how to make it thrive. Moving on to a different family of plants. Peperomias. I have quite a few peperomias, and almost all of them are so easy to look after. Like, I would recommend them to anyone as an easy plant to look after. Except for this Peperomia postrata. It looked pretty good when I first got it, and it was doing okay for the first couple of months. I think I had it for like 2 or 3 months and it was looking fine. And then this last month, it just decided not to survive. It just wants to cark it. Like, many like dead and dying leaves in here. It did look a lot fuller, but this is all I've got, and this is all I'm working with right now. At first I thought it wasn't getting enough light, so I put it in an east windowsill, which I feel like the sun shouldn't be too strong in an east windowsill, but the leaves went really kind of bleached, so maybe it was getting too much. But then the leaves also look like it's been overwatered, which I didn't really understand because I had barely watered it. Like, I was watering it maybe every 4 weeks or so, and it was only in a tiny, not 4 weeks, probably every 2 to 3 weeks, and it was only in a really tiny little pot. So, but it wasn't in the best draining soil, I think, but I've since changed the soil. It's in something nice and airy, lots of perlite, very well draining. Leaves are still looking gross, and I checked the roots and the roots looked mainly fine. I don't know. What do you want? What do I need to do to make you happy? My current care philosophy for this plant is just set it and forget it, and maybe some neglect will do it good. Exact same situation with this Peperomia rosso. It was doing fine. I got it on the same day that I got that string of turtles from the same nursery, and it was, you know, chilling, doing fine, putting out some new leaves, and then all of a sudden its leaves just started rotting off. All the leaves on this side, all the leaves here just like rotted off. Some of these old leaves are looking a bit manky, but old leaves I'm never really too worried about. And I was so scared. I was like, fuck, it's got root rot. So I repotted it out of the pot that it was in. I checked the roots. They were a little damp despite the fact that I hadn't watered it in weeks. So I feel like maybe, again, with the other peperomias, it just wasn't in well draining soil. So I've put it in a nice well draining mix, lots of perlite. It's like cactus mix amended with perlite, so very well draining. And I barely watered it, but then the leaves started getting really flimsy, so I'm like, oh, maybe I should water you. The rotting does appear to have stopped. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was some sort of infection. I don't know. This plant was so easy, and I was recommending it to people to get because it's so cute, you know, cute little red backed leaves, so easy to look after, and then all of a sudden mine just decided it wanted to cark it. But I think it's back on track now. I don't know. Again, tell me how to make this one happy. This Pilea peperomoides, sorry, I'm just really impressed with how I managed to pronounce that. It did have a bit of a rough start. I have filmed me potting this one up, but in that video you can see that there were lots of weird white specks in the soil. I think it may have been overwatered because some of the leaves were showing, had like brown spots, and I think that was a sign of edema, and that the white spots in the soil were just some sort of, you know, fungus or mold growth due to having moist soil. So I have since let it dry out, and I put it in a pretty bright light situation, but I think I may have had it, I did have it in an east windowsill. I think the problem is that I live in Australia and we have a really harsh sun here, so the sun, even though it was only an east facing sun and it was only getting morning exposure, it was still just way too much for it. Its leaves started curling in, so I moved it a little bit away from the window, and the leaves I think are doing a bit better. I still haven't worked out how often I need to water this one. I know they like to stay on the drier side. It does have some new leaves, some new growth coming in there, so maybe it's happy, maybe I've worked it out, I don't know. Last plant that I'm really struggling with, it's not the plant's fault. I need to make this clear. It is this Calathea orbifolia. It's looking so sad. But I can explain why it looks this sad. Firstly, I got it from a supermarket, so it never got watered, I don't think, while it was there, which Calatheas love to be nice and moist, and not watering them is like a surefire way of killing them. Plus, it was in air conditioning, which dries out the air, hence why it has some crispy tips. It did have another leaf on there. It completely crisped up and dried away. But it was a small old leaf, so I wasn't too concerned about that. But I had this plant for a while and I was watering it, and I noticed the soil was just not drying out for like weeks and weeks and weeks after watering it. Also, it just wasn't really growing at all. So I decided to change the soil. It was in a very peaty mix. I have then amended that with some perlite and a little bit of just a tiny little bit of bark in there, just to get it a little bit more well draining. Calatheas love to stay moist, but they do like, you know, they don't like to stay moist for too long, you know, they can still get root rot. But when I did that, I noticed that he was stuck in a peat plug, which I've heard a lot of people describe that as a death plug, and I think that is a really accurate description because the roots just have nowhere to go. So his roots were like literally like this that's not helpful at all. But his roots were literally just like not even there. So I think a reason why he's not putting out any new growth and hasn't put out any new growth in the months and months that I've had him is because he's busy working on his roots. So hopefully in you know, now that we're in spring, it'll start putting out new growth. Fingers crossed, because I'm really worried that all of these leaves are going to crisp up and die away before any new growth comes out. But yeah, I feel bad. It's not his fault. I shouldn't complain, but at the same time, I'm like, come on, like, just show me some more signs of life, please. That's enough venting, I think. I feel a lot better after that. Thank you for listening to me vent. I would love to hear what you are struggling with too with your plants, so I know that I am not the only one. I'm so much calmer now that I got that all off my chest. So that was good, that was healthy, I think, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, thank you for listening. Like this video, subscribe to this channel. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!